It's not a big deal, but it's just like, since it is the first part, I was like,
if somebody messed up my name, I'd be pissed. So, no, I'd be pissed.
Samantha Scholl.
My son's laughing so hard. Okay.
But Scholl. That was amazing. You're fun, so incredible. Oh my gosh, I didn't know I was going to be talking about my story, but that's great.
No,
I didn't know you were a trans daughter. I didn't know that.
Girl, there's a lot you don't know.
Yay, when we hang out more.
We'll have more talk. Welcome back to Living Room Wisdom, where your story is your glory. I could not be more excited and grateful to have my friend Samantha Scholl here with us today. She is an associate vice president. She is the Associate Vice President of the Better Business Bureau here in San Diego. And let me tell you, she is such a powerhouse. She trains entrepreneurs. She's an innovator. She is a natural born leader and just a total badass. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yay! A lot of words, big position. Why don't you tell us what all that means?
I'm still trying to figure that out myself, actually, and it's been 4 years. Yeah. It is a lot of words. So you hear the words like innovation and entrepreneur programs and Better Business Bureau. So we are an organization that caters to the small business economy. And my team specifically, we oversee all of the educational programs that are created for small business owners and entrepreneurs, community impact events, any type of education that you would see for small business owners and consumers.
That's amazing. I love that. And what I love most is that you're in charge of the community kind of outreach and bringing together the community. So talk to us a little bit about the old school mindset. We talked about this a little bit of what the Better Business Bureau was and what they did and how it's evolved and how that involves getting out into the community and speaking and building relationship directly with entrepreneurs. Yeah,
that's actually a great question. So the Better Business Bureau has been around for 110 years. So we've been around for a while, right? And so we are here for consumers and small business owners to work together on handling complaints and things like that. But we're so much more. And to your point, we've been evolving and we're not your grandfather's BBB anymore. We have evolved into being a full circle of support for our community and small business owners in our local small business ecosystem. Anywhere from ideation, you want to start a business, to launch, to scale, to exit, and succession planning. And so everywhere in between. So we really want to get out there and work with the communities. And I oversee our foundation. And so our Foundation for Education and Entrepreneur Leadership. And it's our nonprofit organization where we really want to give back to our local communities and our small business owners that are here locally surrounding us and making our economy happen.
And so one thing I know, little birdie told me that you're kind of at the forefront and you've been the engine behind a lot of that evolution and that change and that innovation. So let's just circle back a little bit. You have 25 years, if not more, 25 years from what I don't want to say more because
then I'm going to age myself. So we'll say 25. Right? Sounds good. Yeah.
In hospitality. Yes. So take us back before you entered this role with the Better Business Bureau and kind of really became this community leader, because you're also speaking and you're training and you're mentoring and you're creating programs, right, to reach out to the entrepreneurs in the community. But who were you before? Who was the Sam that was in the hospitality business? What was your mindset? And did you ever think that you would be in the position that you're in now?
Absolutely not. I never even imagined that I would be in this position, and I can't imagine now my life without it. So I actually come from a long line of hospitality folks. I grew up basically in restaurants. My grandmother worked in a restaurant. My mom managed restaurants and worked in restaurants her entire career until later on in life. And I grew up around it. You know, my first job was bussing tables and washing dishes in a restaurant that my mom was managing. And I would actually see her in the way that she would work the room and interact with all of the guests that would be there. Mm-hmm. And I learned a lot about hospitality through watching my mom and how she would interact with guests. And I really felt I tell people hospitality runs in our veins. My sister also and my brother ran restaurants. So we've all been, it's something really important to our family is to really connect with folks. And so it just seemed natural. So 25 years, yes, I did everything from bussing tables to washing dishes and hosting, managing, bartending, serving, you can name it, for years and years and years, all over the country, Las Vegas, Kansas, Illinois, California, and everything from 5-star resorts to dive bars. Wow. I like that, 5 stars to dive bars.
And I know that before you started with the BBB, you were still in the restaurant industry. You had kind of risen to a very high position within, that was a partnership, correct?
Yeah.
A French restaurant.
Yes.
And you have an amazing story of how this pivot happened. So I want you to tell that story so everybody can hear when it comes to who you were and who you are now, just how that progressed and how that happened.
Yeah. And, you had asked something just a few minutes ago too that I didn't get a chance to ask or answer, is where my mindset was.
Yes.
Hospitality, for those of you who've never worked, for those who are listeners who have never worked in the hospitality industry, it is one of the most grueling, can be incredibly toxic environments many times. And oftentimes it's very long hours. It's extremely physically demanding, emotionally demanding. And over years and years of managing and running restaurants, it was incredibly taxing on my spirit and on my mind and my body. And so when you're kind of asking that question, I was at a point before I got to the BBB where I was looking, maybe not overtly, but definitely thinking in my head, what could potentially be the next step? Yeah. But when I was at my previous, right before I ended up at the Better Business Bureau, I rose to a managing partnership of a fantastic restaurant that I was, came on board a few months after they opened and was really able to create a fantastic and beautiful company culture and design, a wonderful restaurant, and that was incredibly successful in the community.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
And it was evolved into my baby. I always talk about the restaurant as my baby. I worked very closely with the owner and our executive chef, who was also a partner. And we created something very special and very beautiful. And then the pandemic, I know, are we still talking about the pandemic? But I do think it's a
big part of your story.
Big part of my story and the pivot, and just why I'm here today talking to you about what my work now is, running a restaurant, a fine dining restaurant during a pandemic. It was, you hear folks talk about the art of the pivot and having to pivot. When you sell $65, $75 filet mignons and you need to pivot to a to-go business, a lot of folks aren't interested in purchasing a filet mignon that's served in a takeout box. Exactly. So we really had to hunker down really quickly, think outside of the box, and rely on our community to help guide us through that. And the cool thing is we spent a lot of time building that community. So when we needed them, they were there for us. And it was incredible. They came out and really... the first day when we had to lay off 35 employees, when we had to shut down, I started a GoFundMe page for my team and was able to raise $30,000 within 72 hours just from the folks in our local that frequented the restaurant. And that was just kind of started into the different types of pivots and things that we had to do and get creative. It was a challenging time and a hard time, but we all just took it as an opportunity to really see how we can pivot this business and make it successsul in any landscape, even if we have 10 tables outside and that's all we got.
So did you ever want to have your own restaurant? Was that the dream?
I've had dreams in doing it. Yes, it comes and goes. I still have that dream. I am an entrepreneurial.
It's a hard business.
At heart, it is. I think about it often, actually, pretty much every day. I would come up with a new concept. But that was the goal. I was planning on opening up some new restaurants with the partner that I had at the other restaurant. Okay. So that was the goal. And then I just really started thinking, what else is out there? I've been doing this for a really long time. I've been awarded a very incredible career where was able to learn so much from so many different people. I had great mentors. And then I just thought, what else could be out there?
I love that.
Yeah.
So I know during the pandemic, I know you're going to know in a minute. I want you to share some of the really cute, creative things that you came up with. But I also want you to share like where that came from, because some of the things that I know that you did during COVID, they're not something that the average person would consider in order to keep the business afloat. So share a little bit of that journey from pandemic starting and having to make the big pivot, and just some of the things that you guys did to remain successful, not just stay afloat, but like actually increase your profits during COVID.
Yes, and we did, which is the whole nother, I think, podcast on that. But no, I think this actually is all tied back to that hospitality piece and how it truly, hospitality is part of everything that I do.
Yes.
It is, to me, it's a business strategy, not just for restaurants and folks in the typical what you would think is hospitality.
Yes.
Every industry should focus on hospitality.
It's lacking.
Yeah,
let's talk about that. But it should be. You said the magic word.
It should be. And if you hospitality is creating a space where people feel seen, and it's all about how you make someone feel, right? And so you can translate that into so many different ways that you want. But for me, we have this community that we loved and I cared for, and they were also going through a really hard time. So I, put on my thinking cap and thought, like, how can I connect with them? It was not about profit to me. I wasn't thinking, how can I create something that's going to generate X amount of dollars? It was really, how can I keep this community connected during this incredibly difficult time in our lives, to let them know, hey, we're still here. We still care. We might not be able to be serving you in the way that we did, but like, here's something else that we're doing. And so, for example, we had a lot of immunocompromised guests in our part of our community that would come to our restaurant, and some folks that were elderly that were having a little bit of a hard time during the pandemic. So we created our own version of Uber Eats, if you will, before I think it was even a thing. And we would just take their grocery list orders. I had to my staff was incredibly lean at that point. So I would filter different folks in, and they would take grocery list orders and go to the grocery store and hand deliver it to the clients or our guests, our friends. I call them our friends.
Growing up in New York City, actually, like Corner Deli, and having a tab, and like them running up our coffee and bagels, and that really is what community is all about. So kudos to you.
Yeah, thank you. That. And we didn't charge them anything. It was just, we wanted to let them know, hey, we're here. It looks different, but what can we do for you? I got into baking like a lot of other people did during COVID. So I would bake cakes, little cakes, and they would all, with every grocery order, they would get a little cake from me. And the best part about it is what we would dress in costumes. And so, imagine being stuck in your home for months and months and having someone deliver food you dressed in just a ridiculous costume with a wig and a rainbow tutu and who knows what else we had going on. It just brought joy. We were all about bringing joy. Delivering joy. And that's what we said, delivering joy to your doorstep. And, we really brought together some of the local restaurants in the neighborhood too, because we wanted to make sure that we were all unified and that we can get through this thing together. And so we hosted a couple different collaborative initiatives where we would partner with a brewery across the street who did not have a menu or food. They couldn't open their doors. So we decided to serve our food there for them and run it across the street so they could have, that food service available to be able to open their doors. And just a lot of different types of collaborations. We hosted outdoor barbecues. We bought a gigantic grill where we had a walk up farmer's market. Well, we did. It was a block party. We would bring music outside. We would bring live music. They would sit outside and play music, and we would sell wine and desserts and baguettes, and other people can bring their stuff to sell. And we would cook all different types of things and just trying to keep the spirit alive of community and keeping us connected. And it paid off. It was a genuine, authentic connections, which is so important in business. And oftentimes I think people overlook that. They overlook the importance of authenticity in business and genuine connections, and it's business should not be transactional. It's relational, and it should be relationship building. And so that's how businesses stay, I think, alive.
And that's how people remember you as well.
Exactly.
I think that I talk a lot about values, but not in the sense of like, here's our mission and then this is our value statement, which obviously we should have as business owners, but living the values. Like, you shouldn't have to tell people what your values are. They should feel it, right? They should experience it. And that's what hospitality is.
Yeah.
And it's funny because as you were talking, I'm like, I haven't really had corporate jobs because I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. But in high school, I worked, my very first job was a hostess at Marie Callender's.
Oh, yes.
So if I think back and I think about like the foundation of how I was trained, if you will, it was hostessing at Marie Callender's. And I took so much pride in my job with that ugly little burgundy skirt and striped shirt that I had to wear. But I took so much pride, and I would be hostessing and I would be doing the busing when I needed to seat people. And sometimes it would be so busy, I would have to take their drink orders. And like, it was all about the hospitality.
Yeah.
And I think I had one other position. Yeah. Front desk. One of my children, I needed insurance. So I went and got a job at the front desk at one of the hotels, the Flamingo Hilton in Las Vegas. And so I worked there for a year or so. And that again was like really honing in on that hospitality piece, how to communicate with people, how to make them feel seen and taken care of, even in the midst of like some of the worst challenges.
Yeah.
And so you being in hospitality for 25 years and then being able to pivot that into something like BBB in a time when people really do not focus on hospitality.
Yeah.
Like we're being replaced by AI in a lot of cases. And these like before AI, it was those recordings, right? So tell me then, obviously the executives at BBB saw that in you because when I go to the space down in San Diego or when I see anything that's about the BBB, I automatically think of you. You are the brand for me and probably for a lot of people. It's the smile, it's the energy, it's how you make people feel. And so how was it different before you stepped in, right? I know it was a newer office, I guess, or like the building itself was newer, but the business has been around so much. So how was it, how is it different? How have you changed and affected change there?
Well, that's a really cool question too, because the leadership at the BBB, specifically our CEO, was really intentional about it. I was hired because of my hospitality background.
Yes.
They wanted to bring hospitality to the BBB because the space has transformed. It started out 2 years ago as a co-working space that was slated to open during the pandemic, which is also really challenging to open up open co-working meeting space. We still offer the drop-in collaborative, type co-working with the meetings and also events. But originally, it was opening similar to something like a WeWork, right? Or some of these places where you go and they're so sterile. And like you said, you're treated like a number. And the leadership at the BBB here in San Diego and Arizona, the one that we're part of, really wanted to offer a unique experience. And they thought we need the hospitality touch.
Yeah.
I mean, the folks who run our meeting spaces, their titles are hospitality concierge or hospitality and community engagement managers. So we really take pride in bringing that portion, that going the extra mile, paying attention to detail, making sure that your every single client feels seen, feels heard and welcomed, and that we really genuinely care that they're there. And it has transformed the space and really kind of catapulted us into a different sphere because no one else really was putting that much thought into it. I'm not gonna say no one else was, but we were definitely
you all
putting
have
a lot of
effectively executed
it. And everyone that we bring on to those teams has hospitality background.
Okay.
Yeah, so that it was a very intentional way to do it because we really believe that folks that have worked in those spaces bring something special to the table, along with whatever other skills that they have.
And that's where the innovation comes in as well, because everything from the way that the office in Kearny Mesa is laid out to the colors to Karen, who is like your co-branded partner. Like BBB is like not the same without Karen.
No,
right?
it is not.
She's just amazing. But walking in and having her with that warm energy and that beautiful smile, and then having the coffee station and like all of these, I don't know, it's just all of these really simple, beautiful touches that where you walk in and it feels like home. You feel welcome no matter who you are.
Yeah.
And I think it's wonderful because I think a lot of business spaces and specifically entrepreneurial spaces can be intimidating.
Yeah.
Especially for a new entrepreneur.
Yes.
So I'd love to ask you in regard to the, we don't call them members, we call them
Accredited businesses.
accredited businesses that are a part of the BBB and who frequent the space itself. What are some of the common fears or identities you see when they come in? Because you all do a lot of business accelerators and helping people with funding and grants and all these kinds of things. So what is the mindset do you find when they're coming in? What are the fears? What are some of the hesitations that you all are helping small business owners and entrepreneurs shift?
Absolutely. So the Better Business Bureau, we have the rooms and everything available to our accredited businesses, and it's open to everyone. It's not a private space. So there are accredited businesses, they get free credits to use the space, but the space is open for all entrepreneurs, anyone who wants to drop in and rent a room or utilize the event space or book a podcast. The accredited businesses, it's a benefit that they utilize the space for free.
Okay.
But the BBB is not here to serve only our accredited businesses. We are here to offer a holistic approach, a comprehensive support system for small businesses and for all entrepreneurs. Okay. So, of course, the goal would be down the line for everyone to become an accredited business, because to do so, it means that you're adhering to our 8 standards of trust, which are part and parcel. They're our core values. That's who we are, and how we expect other businesses to operate ethically. But especially with my team and in the programs that we create, they're for a lot of them are newly starting, emerging entrepreneurs. And so there's a lot of different fears and that I have been experiencing with creating these programs over the years. One of them is the mindset of the solopreneur. They're nervous. They don't know if they can handle it. They're in over their head, and they come to a place like BBB, and it can be really intimidating to be around other folks that may be 10 years in business, 20 years in business, and they're walking in thinking, I'm not sure, do I have the tools? But that's what we're there for. And also just a lot of folks that we see are just starting out with the networking piece. And if anyone who knows me knows that I will talk about networking all day and why it's so important. It is so important to build your network and build it now and start early and build your foundation, because you never know where one conversation will take you. 5 years down the line, someone that you met, it might come into play. A lot of the partnerships that we've had at the BBB have started from conversations that have that I've met folks at networking events. And so we have now beautiful partnerships and sponsorships and community collaborators. And so I think that a lot of not a lot, but many of the entrepreneurs that we see coming through some of our programs, this is their first attempt at networking intentionally and getting comfortable talking about their business with others. And so that's something that we see often. And also, I think just with what's going on in this country with, I'm not going to get into politics or anything like that. There is fear with, inflation potentially coming up. And so there are a lot of folks are coming in worried about that. How can I make my business sustainable? And so we are really here to offer that support and the mentorship in our programs and really teach business owners the skills and tools how to build and grow ethical, sustainable businesses.
I love that. And your company was kind of created to serve the underserved as well, right?
Yeah.
Speak a little to that.
Yeah. So our underserved communities we cater a lot within our foundation to a lot of the programs that we do. So the BBB is focused on all businesses. With our innovation team, and a lot of the programs and a lot of the grants that we go for and grants that we receive are really focusing on entrepreneurs who face systemic barriers to equitable access to resources. So that can look like a lot of different things. And so we do know that there is not equitable access to resources. So what we intend to do when I'm writing grants or we're writing grants for programs is to build out programs that provide that access and remove barriers. So entrepreneurs can come and learn. And all of our programs are either free or nominal. We have a program going right now called BBB Breakthrough Accelerator, where all the participants who graduate will receive $1,000 for their business. The last cohort, we integrated childcare as, so folks that have that childcare barrier that can't come into an in-person session to learn more about building their business out. We provided on-site childcare at no cost, so they can come and really focus on the most important thing during that hour, which is learning how to grow their business and sustain their business.
And I'm sure all of that is birthed from that core foundation of community.
Yes. That's community is everything. Collaboration over competition.
Yes.
Folks will hear me say that over and over and over again. It's one of the things I'm most passionate about is building community and really doing it. You just said earlier about like saying your core values and putting them on a board, but like really living them is a totally different thing. Totally. And, community building and capacity building and relationship building, these are all buzzwords that people talk about, but the ones that are actually out there doing the work and making connections and collaborating with, there are so many other nonprofits in town that are doing absolutely incredible work. It is they're not in competition with us. We want to join forces and see how we can make a bigger impact to serve our entrepreneurs in the most efficient and best way possible. And there are a lot of players in the game that are looking to do the same thing. So we just have been connecting and creating programs together and expanding our reach by bringing together our networks. And the entrepreneurs also thrive because when you have different chambers and other organizations coming together and putting on events and educational opportunities, they're bringing all their networks together, which is enriching the experience for the entrepreneurs and exposing them to folks that they might not ever really be coming in contact with, who could potentially be partners or sponsors or clients or who knows.
And you're brilliant at finding the win-win. You, from what my experience of you is that you're really good at creating the partnerships. And like even you and Karen, when you walk into the space, Karen's really good about, hey, do you know so-and-so?
Yes.
And, making introductions and things like that. And I think that for the starting entrepreneur, it's really important because we have a tendency, when you're first coming into entrepreneurship to isolate. Right? You're in the learning phase or building your competence or whatever it is, building out your system in your business. And so it's not until you start really coming in community with other entrepreneurs, people that might be ahead of you, that you start to enrich that experience.
Absolutely. And being surrounded by entrepreneurs and folks that are like-minded as far as business goes that's something that's beautiful about that Ignite space is it's a collaborative space. So you can come and drop in and co-work, but Karen or myself really wants to introduce folks in the room because we know Patrina and how awesome you are, right? And then we also know we have Jonathan over here who's doing incredible work. And we know that the two of you would be absolutely incredible to meet.
Together.
So we want to, and so that really, we're really intentional about that. And we also pride ourselves on being wayfinders to resources. So the BBB has an incredible amount of resources to consumers, business owners, startups, you name it. But we don't have everything. We don't know everything. We don't have access to everything. But I guarantee you, I know someone who does. I know where the resources can be found, and I'm able to connect you with the right folks. And so, I really want folks to know.
And you've developed this over the past 4 years, though, because previous to this, you weren't writing grants and connecting people to funding, right? This is something that you've developed since being in the role.
Yes, that was literally, taking this role was the biggest leap of faith I've ever done in my career, and I really just thought. In my life, really, I was experiencing a lot of terror. I would say fear, and I don't know where I read it. I read something right when I first started, and it says fear, the acronym for forget everything and run, which I thought, the other word, the F word, but I'm not going to say it here. Forget everything and run, or face everything and rise.
Yes.
And so I read that somewhere, and I thought, wow, that's it. So I knew I was jumping into a role where the imposter syndrome was real. It still is real because I'm learning so much. I'm still new as being here 4 years. But I thought, well, I have the ability to learn as much as I can, and I'm going to use my time wisely and dive into this and give it everything I got. And writing grants, wasn't sure that was going to be something that I never thought in my life that'd be something that I would do. And now I'm helping teach others how to write grants and best practices and doing community partnerships. But I didn't really realize how passionate I was about it until I started doing it. And when you find your purpose, your passion, and your power, it's like everything starts to align, and it's not work.
It doesn't feel like work any day, huh?
It doesn't.
Jeez, that's so cool. I love that. And I think also the willingness to step out on the limb and put yourself in that new space. Because I think you told me you weren't even fully, like, you didn't even have all the 25 qualifications that were necessary for the job. You may have had 4, but you excelled so much at those 4 that it's like, that's our girl. And you can learn the other things. So I think there's an important lesson there about being audacious. That's my word right now. Being audacious, making audacious asks, having the nerve to think that you deserve to even ask for that position or apply for that position. And learn along the way, because nobody has everything that they need for every role, but you get to become the person who not only can handle the role, but who excels at the role and then eventually outgrows the role.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I love it. And I have to say, I've had incredible leadership at the BBB, and they've also given me creative autonomy. And that's the thing. I'm a creative. It's a heart of who I am. And so if you give me the reins and say, create something, I love that they have that trust in me. And then I had a lot of folks that are really helpful and generous with their time. I know, right? They were really giving me the reins. They put a lot of trust in me, which is also very scary at times. However, and I failed. I've tried initiatives that haven't worked, right?
Yeah, of course.
That's the only way you learn how to grow. And the leadership there understands that. And so we really, even me, when I first ended up starting in the role, and I was very nervous about being able to perform, and even learn the language of nonprofits. I mean, when you work in hospitality, you are speaking one language, and when you jump into the world of nonprofit, it's completely different. I had Google open 24/7 that first 6 months, typing in things that I'm just nodding, saying, I know exactly what you're saying. What is that? What is that acronym? But it's really just one thing that I will say about the BBB that I love, and I truly love, is that our company culture is incredible. And our CEO says this often, and I know he's quoting from someone else. I know he didn't create it, but I can't remember who actually said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And when you hire for culture, for me, I hire for culture. Is this person going to embody our core values and our mission and really live it and really care? Because you can teach everything else, right? And so it's they stand behind that, and that's how I build teams as well. So I'm happy they gave me a shot. I think I'm doing an okay job.
You are killing it. You're crushing it.
But it's like I said, it's a lot of fun building these relationships and just really being part of something much, much bigger than I ever imagined. Is creating these opportunities for business owners to truly connect with each other and grow their businesses in a way that makes sense for them,
And would you say you're a natural born leader or a cultivated leader?
I would say I'm a natural born leader.
Yeah.
You can ask my sister and brother that question
as well, right? You were probably always that kid, like, let's do it this way, Mom.
Yes. Yeah. There's a story. There's lots of stories about me, but yeah.
But I think so I know that a lot of people have said this to me, like the exact reason why you don't feel like you should be in corporate is why they need you. I've heard that a lot, and I've just never been able to really wrap my mind around it, because I'm like, oh my God, they would be like, what the hell did we do if they brought me in? She just came in here and blew it up.
That's why they need you.
Right, it is, because there's systems that need to be disrupted. there is certain amount of creativity and innovation that these companies need in order to grow, expand, reach new markets.
Yeah.
And you brought that, right?
Thanks. I do see myself as a disruptor. Oftentimes, yes. And I am here for it. And I am really, like I said, I've been blessed with the opportunities that the BBB has provided me, and also just the connections that I've made. The network that we are building here in San Diego is phenomenal. There are so many incredible organizations and people that I get to work with every single day, and my team is phenomenal, and we're just proud. We're just proud of the work we're doing. And that's another thing too, is when you have a team that takes pride in the work that they're doing, it's
You're all
pretty
on the
awesome.
same page. You're all aligned. So how did your personal life and your personal journey prepare you for the role that you're in now? Because you weren't an entrepreneur previously. You were in hospitality.
Yeah.
And you've developed such a entrepreneurial mindset and all of these skills. And so tell me how you feel your life prepared you for that.
Well, I've always been an adventure seeker. I was an author of several blogs. My name is The Savvy Nomad. So I think just a natural wanderlust. I get that from my grandmother, of wanting to travel and experience other cultures and experience. I'm very, very curious person. So I think that was one of the things, is just being curious. I've traveled to 70 countries on a shoestring budget, and just out of just an absolute curiosity to connect with other people and cultures. And so I think just if you're staying in one place at one time and hanging out with the same people and, having the same circle, it's really hard to grow.
I agree.
And so when you put yourself in uncomfortable positions, I bought a one-way ticket to California when I was 19 and did not know where I was going to stay when I got off that plane. And those types of experiences shaped me into being forced into being uncomfortable, and that's how you grow. And so I've kind of shifted and moved in different spaces all over throughout my life and my career, and traveling and learning and getting to connect with other people. So that's part of it. And then the hospitality piece, that really prepared me, specifically the last couple of roles I had. The last role I had was managing every aspect of that business. So having to do all of the, the HR, the payroll, the ordering, the company culture, you name it, menu design, social media, hiring, it doesn't matter. Every single thing running that restaurant, with the exception of the kitchen. And then my partner did some of the financials, but really just creating it from scratch and managing it. Those tools and development of understanding how to create those marketing strategies that are going to resonate with, the tourists coming into San Diego or your local, and having to just develop those, a lot of it on my own, and learn from a lot of different classes that I took online, and things like that. So it's just, I think, putting myself in those different positions, and then also just forcing myself to learn new things. I'm always, always be learning. I think folks always have to be learning, always be eager to learn something new every single day, do something that scares you every single day. And I told my wife this morning, because Eleanor Rosenfeld said that, but just something that scares you every single day. And I said, today going on this podcast is my thing.
I know you were so nervous, and you're just like killing it. Killing it.
It's always when you're asked to share your story, and sometimes it's hard to, kind of speak about it.
Like I told you, you're going to know all the answers because it's about you. Yeah.
This is great. No trick questions. So what do you think about? No.
I do want to ask you this, because you're such a badass, right? Or you come off as such a badass. You come off very fearless. You come off very confident. Was there ever a time where you felt like you were hiding, where you felt insecure, or where you were just playing small?
Yes. I was bullied as a child, which I know a lot of folks hear that often. So that was tough. We moved a lot before I hit high school. I think we moved 7 or 8 times, or 9 times maybe. So, I started high school fresh, didn't know a lot of folks. was bullied in high school, so
you developed that networking skill, moving
exactly.
around a lot,
That's why I left.
New relationships.
Exactly.
Okay.
So once I kind of decided I'm in control of my own destiny. Yeah. So things don't happen to me; they happen for me. Yes. And so I just really decided to, but I did not always have this confidence. I do find myself as a confident person now, confident, but also hopefully humble, because hopefully I come off as humble, because I really would never be where I'm at without the folks that surround me in my life and help me. But I did go through a very massive event in my 40s when I just hit 40. I came out, which is a big deal.
Let your fake flag fly. You came into yourself.
I came into myself because I was never in any type of closet or anything, which is really a lot of, folks ask me that. I had a husband. We were together for 17 years. Wow, I was very happy. Loved my husband. I've always been in relationships with men my entire life. And that's how my family, my friends, and everyone knew me. And then in my 40s, or when I turned 40, I fell in love with a woman. Yeah. Never saw it coming. Didn't know it was possible. Yeah. But I wasn't going to deny myself that experience because I wasn't even sure what I was going through, my own identity crisis during that time. So I was very insecure with myself and trying to struggle, like, who am I? Who is this new person? What's going on here? And then when I realized this individual is in my life and this is my person, then having to share with my family and my friends and my clients at the restaurant and my staff and everybody in my network that I'm now dating, women, was a shock. And I did lose friends, which is really sad. I'm not going to call them real friends, but I think it freaks some people out. And I obviously don't need those people in my life, but my relationships with my family, in the beginning, it was a little bit of a struggle, I think, for everyone to wrap their mind around it. However, my family is incredibly supportive. And it took a breath for them to just process
recalibrate.
To recalibrate. Like I said, I'm 40 years old. And so it was it took a second. But as soon as, my dad is asking me, well, are you happy? Because honestly, that's all we care about. And my mom's saying, are you happy? And I'm like, I've never been so happy in my life. And then it was game on. And now, it's been 8 years. And I don't want to say that they love her more than they love me, because that would be not fair. But they really love her a lot. Everyone in my family probably communicates with her more than they do with me. Maybe it's because I'm bad at answering texts. But she is my life. But I think for a while there, especially in that pivotal time in my life, I'm turning 40. I'm in California for the second time. I was only here for the first time a few years, and I went back, and that's a whole nother story. But I was struggling with finding my ground and being confident with who I am, because I was still trying to find out who I was. Like I really was. And I know that's the first step in your framework. Yeah. Exactly. Is who am I? Exactly. So I was really struggling
and
there.
Identifying what doesn't align.
And identifying with what doesn't align. Right. Yeah. So I think that was, that was a challenging time. And I know that was a really long answer to that question.
But it was your first real act of courage. Well, maybe not your first, but it was one big act of courage.
Yeah, it was. That was a very big act of courage. And ripping that Band-Aid off was hard. Yeah. But once I did it, it took us, like I said, everyone took a lap. Yes. But 99% of the people came right back. And most people were just overjoyed with the happiness and,
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but first off, thanks for sharing. Because I love it. Again, this is living room wisdom, where your story is your glory. And I love to really have raw conversations, real conversations. Let's talk about the pain. Let's talk about these experiences, how we move through them, and who we became as a result, because that's essentially what the framework does.
Yes.
Right? Teaches you how to live an aligned life of embodied abundance. And so thank you for sharing and trusting me, us.
Yes.
With your story.
Well,
so there it is.
No, thank you. No, I definitely, your framework, I want to be able to incorporate all 6 steps.
Yes.
I'm working on it. Sacred self-care is one that
yeah,
is
girl,
so
you
hard
met the
for
right
me.
woman, because I can support you in that one.
I definitely need to work more on that.
Yeah.
That part. But
You get to.
yes, I get to.
I
get to.
But I was going to say, I don't know if you know this, but I have a trans daughter.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. So I am not just an ally. Well, I'm not just an ally anyway, because I'm a little fluidy myself on some occasions. But, yeah. So I'm like,
apparently so am I.
Yeah.
Who
Right.
knew?
Honestly, I think probably everyone has some level of fluidity if they were to meet the right person, because the fact that you lived as a straight woman your entire life and then fell in love. Yes, and then fell in love with a woman. Yeah. I mean, you didn't see that coming.
No.
Or did you?
No,
Did you ever have any inclination?
No.
Okay.
I never had not once thought of dating or being with a woman.
Let alone marrying one.
Marrying one. I couldn't even,
later.
there's no way I could have ever even. I don't know. I think this is, people like to put labels on things, and I would say labels are for canned soup. But I don't have a label, but I realize that it's energy. Open yourself up to love, opening yourself up to love. And it's not for everyone, I understand.
Yes.
However, just when I open myself up to receive love and find this kind of love that I have, I would not change it for the world. And I love my ex-husband. He's great. You know what? He was my biggest supporter, and we're still great friends. But as soon as I told him, he didn't skip a beat. He said, "I'm so happy for you."
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That is proof that love is love.
Yeah.
Right. And it also is proof that you obviously are very good at choosing who you love and who you're in relationship with, because he had to have been a certain type of a person to not let his ego come into play and create conflict. And so that just says a lot about that relationship as well, which is beautiful. And I think that overall is probably your brand. Like, you really just are you're a great person, but you're great at creating relationships. You're great at communication, and you really do have this energy and this spirit of wanting everyone to win.
I do. I want everyone to win, and you have that same energy. I feel everything you just said. I know. I'm like, everything you just said to me, I feel the same way about you. Your energy is infectious in the best way possible. I can't even, I was explaining you to my family today. I told them I'm going on this podcast. I was talking to my mom on the phone. I'm like, she is so beautiful. And I'm like, I'm not saying it's not physical. You are physically beautiful, but your energy is just radiates just who you are. You just walk into a room and it just lights up. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I was so nervous. I'm blinded by the light. No,
no, we're mirrors of each other. And I don't think it's an accident that we met, and I don't think it's an accident that we keep attracting to. And I think there's so much big impact and stuff for us to do in the world together. So I'm extremely honored. I'm grateful to know you. I'm so happy to have had you on the podcast. What I'd love for us to do as we start to round out this episode is, if there is someone out there, because there's a couple things we can speak to. I think at its core, if there's someone out there who is either being forced into a transition or a pivot similar to what you experienced during COVID, or they've found themselves in position where they want to choose something else, but they're not quite sure how to go about it, what would you say is the one thing that they should make peace with, and the one action that they should take to create their new reality?
Okay. One thing that they should make peace with is it's okay to make mistakes, and you have to dream big and follow through. Something that you also talk about in your book is accountability, and is just really holding yourself accountable too, for if you're going to make that change or you're going to transition. I have folks that I've been talking to for years that have been talking about the transition that they're going to make or they're going to do, and it's been 6 years. I'm thinking, wow, you would have already had that doctorate degree by now had you just started applying for the school. So.
Or I'm going to leave this marriage, or I'm going to do this.
Exactly.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Make the
Trust
decision.
me, I'm the wrong one to come to, because I'm like, I just look at him, blank stare.
Yeah, make the decision.
Do it.
Hold yourself accountable,
Yes.
and take the actionable steps that you need to get towards the goal. And then the second part of that was, what's an action item?
Yes. What would be an action? So once you've made peace with the accountability to yourself, you know, and what would be the first action to take, or something to
Speak
consider?
it out loud.
Yes.
When you say your goals out loud, it changes it. It literally changes the neuro-linguistic part of your brain when you're actually saying it out loud, and say it every day and tell folks, so they will hold you accountable for achieving that goal or that transition.
For sure. Yeah. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what you're saying as truth, or if it's something projected in the future. It's going to go to work to create that for you.
Yeah.
And so we've talked about a couple of instances that happened for you, but what is it called? The reticular activating system in our brain will actually create that for you. So, yay! I love it. We're on the same page.
Totally.
So I am just so thrilled that you all joined us for this episode today. I'm so happy to have Sam here sharing her wisdom. I know that you must have gotten so many notes. Hopefully you were taking notes. If not, pause, rewind, do it again. But I just want to really encourage everybody to be brave, be more audacious, really take up more space, align with everything that you want to do in this life, because this life is short and you never know when it's going to end. So with that said, I want to thank you for joining us on Living Room Wisdom once again, where your story and Sam's story is your glory. And we'll see you next week right here, same time. Go ahead and leave us a review, subscribe on Spotify or YouTube, wherever you're watching your podcast episode. And we'll see you next week. Thank you. And thank you, honey.
Thank you.